Hello friends, welcome to a new video on my channel. Today I'll have to excuse myself because it's not for my German audience, because normally I'm producing my videos, well, most of my videos in German, but today I would like to do it in English. And the topic we are covering are smart contracts. So basically it's about cryptocurrencies, so I guess you've heard of them, probably at least of Bitcoin, but here it's not about Bitcoin, it's about Ethereum, okay, which is another cryptocurrency if you want, but here I'm much more interested about smart contracts, because this is the technology itself. I think is pretty interesting, and that's why I want to give you let's say a brief overview how we can start programming smart contracts. Okay, and what I'm using here is the Remix, which is simply you can type this in your browser and go to remixethereum.org, and here you can simply program them. So this is JavaScript virtual machine, and it's just for free, so you can simply try out code if you want. Okay, so yeah, let's start actually, right? So what I want to do is at first I want to create a new contract. So I click on this little icon here, and then I can name my file. So just make sure that it's .sol for Solidity, because Solidity is a programming language for smart contracts, at least one of them. Probably some others out there, but probably I think that Solidity is the most recognized one and the most used one. Okay, so okay, we can name this whatever we want. For instance, start programming, and let me actually capitalize that. So camel case, start programming smart contracts. Okay, contracts. But you, of course, you can name this whatever you want. And I click on OK, and you can see that I get my new file here, and already I get some kind of issue here. So what I need to do is, in each file, whenever I start programming Solidity, I need to specify the Solidity version at the beginning. So what I need to do is, basically, I need to type in pragma, which is just a keyword, and then I type in Solidity, and now I give it the version. And I use this caret symbol, and then I simply type in 0.4.0 in my case. Of course, probably there are now other versions out there. I think the latest is 0.4.23, also 23, I'm not sure, but you can of course use another one as well. So and here now you can see that this little warning message is gone. Okay, so far so good. Alright, so this is always the first thing when you start programming in Solidity, that you specify the version. So what we're going to do here are actually two things. We want to create a contract, and here every one of you here who has programming experience in JavaScript will be really comfortable with Solidity, because it's kind of similar, I think. So yeah, that's an advantage for you. So what we are going to do here in this video is simply we're creating getters and setters. So this is probably something you've heard, especially if you have some programming experience from other from any other kind of programming language. Okay. So let's start. The first thing is I need to define my contract, and a contract could be, at least from my point of view, I would also, in other programming languages, I would call it a class, actually, because what you do is you type in the keyword contract, and you can see here it's highlighted in blue, so it's a keyword, and then I need to give my contract a name. For instance, my first contract. Okay, you can name this, of course, whatever you want, and then you need these curly braces, and now I have my contract, and I can see I get no errors. And now I want to start actually defining some variables. Okay, so when I want to create a variable, there are of course different types of variables. So this classical variables like a string exists, or also of course a boolean, an integer, or also an unassigned integer, and other kinds of variables. So typical variables which most of you probably are familiar with. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create a string. Okay, let's say I'm creating a string, and I want to set this to private, which is also a keyword, because when you set something private here, then this simply means that this string variable, which I name, let's say my name, okay, that's the name of the string, and here I simply define the string. And this private simply means that this my name is only accessible within this contract itself. So no other contract has access to my name here, to this string value, only the contract itself. Okay? So that's the first thing, and let's also define another variable. Let's also use define an age. Okay, and here I'm going to assign an unassigned integer. So uint for unassigned integer, and I also specify that private. Let's say private, and then I say my age. Okay, like that, my age. Okay, And please never forget these semicolon at the end, because otherwise you get this error message. Okay. Alright, so that's the way how you would define variables, and you could make them private if you want, like I did, but of course you could also make them public if you want other contracts to have access to these variables. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Now let's actually create some getters and setters. Let's say I want to create a setter. Let's say I say function, and that's the way you define it. You can see it's highlighted in blue. It's function keyword. And what I need to do is I need to give my function a name. For instance, set my name, like that. And then what I have to do is I have to actually define the type of variable which I want to give this function. So when someone calls this function, actually I want him to be able to give this function a name, and then this my name will be set to the name which will be defined by the input of this function. So what I need to do in order to do this is I need to define a string, because I give it a string, and then I say, for instance, new name. Okay, I simply give the string a name, and I make this function public, and then I open the curly braces here, and what I do now is I say I want to say my name. So my name, this verb up here is equal to, and now I set this to new name, like that. Okay, so basically what I'm doing with here is this is a setter. Well, so what I do is, if someone is calling this function on the contract and gives his name, or any name, so any string value as name, then this string value will be stored in my name. Okay, that's the idea behind that. And then what I also want to do is I want to create a getter. So let's say function, like that, and now I say get my name, like that. And what I will do here is, in this case, I don't specify any value here, because the getter should only return something. I don't, if I call this function, or anyone who is working with this contract will call the function, then he won't be able to give this function any value. So send a value with the function. That will not be possible, because this function should only return something. So that's why we do not specify any data type and any name or kind of variable in here. But of course we also make this public, and since it only returns a special value, and always the same value in this case, which is my name, so this variable, we can make this a constant. So let's say public constant, and then I can say returns. So returns, because I need to define here in Solidity that it returns a string. So the difference here for the getter and setter is the following. We have here, I get my name here, but this is a getter, so I do not specify some kind of variable I want to give this, but I need to specify what this function will return, and it will return a string because it should return my name. Okay, so what I do is I use the returns keyword here, and it will return a string because it should return my name. Okay, and everything I need to specify within the function itself is then return the return keyword, and then my name, like that, and that's it. Okay, so that's it actually for getters and setters, and I could do the same for my age. For now, I think that's enough to do it here. And what I can do now is the following. I can call this function. So this function actually has an address now on the blockchain, and what I can do is, I mean, I myself, as someone who is interacting with smart contracts, has also an account with yeah, certain with a certain address. And what I could do is, you can see here I got my first contract, which is the name of this, and I can create the contract. So if I click on create here, you can see I got the get my name and I got the set my name. Okay, and I could now set my name. So all I need to do now in here is I type in a string. For instance, I give it the string Daniel, and I put it in quotes, Daniel, and then I click on set my name. So I'm executing the function. You can see it here, which is here this kind of, it's a debugging window if you want, and you can see that this has been executed. If you want to see more, go to details, then you have a more detailed view. So for instance, how much gas it costs, so what are the transaction costs for this contract actually, and other kinds of things. Just take a look at that. But here you can see for the decoded input, it's a string. Okay, and the string will be new name, and it's Daniel. And the input here, this is a hash function, I guess, or an address, I'm not so sure. just correct me and write it in the comment section. So what I can do now is I could also call this get my name function, because I have set my name to Daniel, and if I use, or someone else is now calling, in this case the function, and wants to return the name, he can click on get my name, so get my name, and if I scroll down, you can see, I need to scroll down, you can see that this got executed. Can go to details, and I also can see it's a string Daniel, and I also can see it here. Okay, it returned a string named Daniel, so here. Okay, that's it actually for getters and setters in Solidity, which are program basics, I guess, but that's what was something I wanted to show you. And if you would like to see more, then please write this in the comments. Otherwise, I will continue with other kinds of videos. And it was just well, a try. I wanted to give this a go and try it out, and yeah, if you guys liked it, then give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and again, wrote it in the comments. As always, I wish you all the best, have a nice day, and also already Happy New Year!